Hi, fellow HPY cruising folk. It's David here, Rear Commodore Cruising. As we're all effectively grounded at the moment and can't go cruising, I thought it might be interesting if we shared some stories about our favourite cruises. So I'm going to start the ball rolling with a story about a West Country cruise that Leading Wind did in 1938. Straight away I can hear those of you who know Jill and I saying that Leading Wind isn't that old. You are of course correct. Our Leading Wind started life in 1989, over 50 years after the cruise I'm going to talk about. So the original Leading Wind is, and still is, a Deben 4-tonner built at Wistock's boatyard in 1938. She's a very pretty 22-foot sloop, and Wistock's built 35 of these robust and sea-kindly yachts starting in 1937. Many of them are still afloat. In 1938, my Aunt Mary bought one of these yachts and called her Leading Wind. She and George, my dad, were very keen South Coast sailors. Leading Wind was my aunt's second yacht, the first one being a 20-foot Hilliard called Koala. So let's have a look at some pictures of Leading Wind. Firstly, with the mast being stepped after she was launched. The pictures shows my dad helping with this. A couple of other pictures showed her moored at Woodbridge, including one outside a very tired-looking tide mill. Now let's have a look at her sailing. Very nice one with my dad at the helm. We also have some pictures of Leading Wind as she is today, beautifully refurbished by her current owner and moored at Burdon Pool near Chichester. This year Jill and I have, or had plans, to sail into Chichester Harbour and bring together both Leading Winds for part of an article to go in the Classic Boat magazine. So we have a boat, now we need a crew. Let's have a look at the skipper, Mary, my aunt, and a very formidable lady who didn't suffer fools gladly. The other two members of the crew are my dad, who was 18 at the time, and Alan, a family friend. Next, we need a destination, and for this cruise it is to the beautiful Helford River in Cornwall. In 2012, Jill and I did a very similar trip in our Leading Wind and really enjoyed cruising the West Country.
The general synopsis at 1H00. Low 180 miles west of Shannon, 995. Expected fastnet 994 by 18005.
So it's early August 1938 and we're ready to go. Let's just check the weather forecast first. Looking at the synoptic chart, it looks like it's going to be warm and settled for the next few days. Just as we're leaving the Solent, we come across a destroyer. Little did the crew know what was going to happen a year later. It's also interesting to note that Spitfire was first introduced in this month of 1938. So a quick sail west, and at 3 AM we're abeam Portland Light. Looks like we're bravely doing the inshore passage. We shall return this way some 16 days later. Now we're at Dartmouth with a porpoise under the bow. Some nice pictures of sailing by Start Point and Prawl Point. Next stop is Salcombe, where we see the wreck of Herzegowin, the German four-master that sank at Bolthead in 1936. You can still just see the wreck there at low water. Also a picture of a shark off Prawl Point. In Salcombe we come across the luxurious motor yacht called Malham, a 50-metre boat built in 1936 by Camper and Nicholson. She's still around today. Recently had an extensive refit by Pendennis Boatyard in Falmouth. You can charter her for about £120,000 a week. Approaching the very pretty River Yam, we come across Padua, another four-master, sailing in some quite big seas. So we've reached our destination, the Helford River, and starting to head back. Some nice pictures of other cruising yachts in the area, plus the tall ship Pommern, another four-master. Seem to be quite a few of these around at this time. Now we're going to leave Falmouth and homeward bound. A quick stop at Mevagissey and then on to Foy, on what looks like a lovely sail back to Salcombe. Some more nice sailing shots and yet another four-master. Finally we get to the end of the voyage, and here we are approaching the entrance to Poole Harbour, where the Haven Hotel can be seen in the background. We need to watch out for the chain ferry that has been operating at the entrance to Poole Harbour for some 90 years. Finally, like all good crew, my dad and Alan helped with the clearing up. So that's it, a nice 16-day cruise in 1938. Same cruising grounds that many of you may have sailed, but probably much larger and more comfortable boats with all the modern comforts that we now take for granted. Just before we finish, a couple of interesting things about Leading Wind and my aunt. According to legend, in 1938 she sailed Leading Wind single-handed around Britain. We can find reference to this in the article in the very good book about the history of Wistock's boatyard. During the war, Leading Wind was laid up on a mud berth in Port Nevis in the Hertford River. My aunt sold Leading Wind after the war, but after coming across an article about it in the Yachting Monthly in 1991, we made contact with the then owner. With my dad, my aunt had died some years before, we met up with them and the boat at the Shotley Classic Boat Show in 1994. My dad stepped on board for the first time since 1938. Straight away was telling the owner that he'd changed the rigging. We kept in touch with the subsequent owners, and as mentioned earlier, now plan to meet up with them once current conditions allow. You may be wondering what this photograph is behind me. This is a picture of four Devon 4-tonners in 1938 outside the Wistock's boatyard. Lovely photograph we managed to get a copy of. Anyway, so if anyone else would like to talk about their favourite cruise, that would be great. Shall we say around 5 minutes with plenty of pictures? Anyway, bon voyage for now, and we hope to see you all as soon as it's safe to do so. Cheers!